Shalom, Hebrews. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. Okay, Hebrews, I want to discuss some history that, that's been left out of history and that nobody want to discuss, and how it's been kind of like unspoken of history that historians don't want to discuss. And if you make an attempt to try to discuss it and it's not officially sanctioned by colleges and universities and so forth, and how they'll try to put you in this category, what they call a pseudo history or pseudo historian. You know what I'm saying? They got all kind of ways to try to suppress the truth, and whether you know it or not, when they create these words and so forth and get them meanings and things like that, that they be having the Israelites in mind, because everything is based upon us. When our enemies create, a history and turn it into a mystery. But they got this word called pseudo history, and it's supposed to discredit anybody that tried to make an attempt to try to explain away the Amorite system, the Babylonian scribe system that they have in place and have in order. So, they got words to challenge anybody that tries to challenge them in the history that they set up through their colleges and universities and so forth. And they try to make it that where if it doesn't go through their colleges or sanctioned universities, then it's not true or it can't be true. Okay, Hebrews, I didn't explain in plenty of videos how the people that the Hebrew Israelites abandoned their history to, how the people who we abandoned our covenant to, were Babylonian scribes and responsible for the whole Babylonian or Western civilization history. At one point in time, all Western civilization was centered in Babylon, and the people from Sippar and Nippur were over it. And we Hebrews abandoned our heritage to them when they was placed in Samaria in 722 BC, 134 years after that, during the Babylonian Wars. We Hebrews ran into Africa, and this is the startling thing. They've been trying to keep this as blank history. Nobody never want to discuss it. Ain't nobody trying to make an attempt to discuss it. You got people in the diaspora, the transatlantic slave trade diaspora, are saying that we are the Hebrew Israelites. This been going on for a long time, that we've been saying that we are the Hebrewites, that we are the Hebrew Israelites since our captivity started here in the Western Hemisphere. We've been saying that we the Hebrew Israelites, and that history has been suppressed and nobody want to talk about it. Well, it's got to be some logical reason why the people from the transatlantic slave trade claim to be Hebrew Israelites. And guess what? I was looking at a Google World Map, and it's not misleading, and it's just straight facts. Now I can say when they created that Google World Map, and with the satellites, that they probably didn't have in mind of that we would look and see how close the promised land is to Egypt. Oh, it's startling. It's startling. And I'm going to go into that, but I wanted to tackle this word that they try to put on anybody that make an attempt to try to change up the lies that they done, put out in the world, and basically all lies started after the Hebrews, after we Israelites abandoned our covenant to the Babylonian scribes during the Babylonian wars. But it says, look here, pseudo history is a form of pseudo scholarship that attempts to distort or misrepresent the historical record. See, the historical record is basically going to be what them Babylonian scribes say. You know, if the Babylonian scribes say this is history, then they want the world to be, to accept that as historical facts. And when the Babylonian scribes say that this is history, or this is the way that we supposed to look at historical events, it's gonna be wrong, because them people are creating lies to cover up their heritage and who they are. So anybody that tried to make an attempt to show that the Babylonian scribes' history is incorrect, and that they've been lying about the Israelite history, then they're going to try to put you in this category, a pseudo history, or a pseudo scholarship. You see what I'm saying? And then they know that us people from the transatlantic slave trade haven't totally integrated into their school system because of poverty and a whole lot of things working up. Basically, how they trying to keep a three-class system going on: the poor, the middle class, and the rich. You see what I'm saying? And that the people at the bottom, well, because we suffered the curses too, and that, they know that one day that we was gonna wake up and that we gonna challenge they lies. So they done created some words to try to put you in that category so people can easily brush you off. If you ain't been accredited at they schools and universities, then what you say can't be valid and so forth. But it's like my message that I put out, I don't care what them devils think. My message is for the Hebrew Israelites and for the Hebrew community. I don't care what them devils think. They gonna always tell a lie, and they gonna always say that we are not the Hebrews. So it don't make a difference what they think. You see what I'm saying? We shouldn't even care what our enemies think. But I tell you what, if one of them was to ever challenge me with, are we the Israelites, I can easily prove it to them. You see, they don't want to know this truth. You see, and this is another way that they block from facing truth. You know what I'm saying? Is when they created these little words. Pseudo-history is the form of pseudo-scholarship that attempts to distort or misrepresent the historical record. You see, the historical record is basically going to be, what they created and what they say, and it's going to be false, because they, the people who we abandoned our heritage to during the Babylonian Wars got like about 3,000 years of administration, creating words, governments, and everything. That they had a civilization 3,000 years before we Hebrew Israelites was even born. And that's that Canaanite civilization that went from the Nile to the Mesopotamia area. And we Hebrew Israelites were supposed to destroy them. Okay, and check this out, Hebrews. How about when we left Egypt, how we Hebrews always said that we want to return back to Africa is Egypt, and how we wanted to return back there, at different times, during the Exodus, and how we had a relationship with Egypt. And then, this is kind of what's, logical, is that during the Babylonian Wars, because the Hebrews always wanted to return to Africa during any problems. If we was having any problems, and then we know that it was a understanding inbred in all the tribes in the area, that when famine and so forth hit, that everybody will automatically go to Egypt, go to Africa. So, you know that that's going to be the same way, during war times. If we doing the Egyptian religion, and then you got enemies coming to attack us in the promised land, then, it's logical that the Hebrews going to go to Egypt, to Africa. And, this is what our enemies been overlooking the whole time. They've been overlooking this the whole time. In the Tanakh history state this plainly, that the Israelites went into Africa to live. Egypt is Africa, and then we don't get the borders of Egypt, that we have today, to the League of Nations, when the European nations took the whole continent of Africa over and then divided the continent amongst themselves, and they drawed up these political boundaries for these nations that they created. You know what I'm saying? And it's like how Egypt back in the days went all the way, Egypt borders went all the way over here into what they would try to call West Africa and so forth, and how Egypt was way over here, and how the ancient Egypt borders wasn't confined like this, because you see baby pyramids. They got baby pyramids in the Sahara, and them baby pyramids, I can show that. I got a video showing that how we Hebrew Israelites, went into the Sahara during the Babylonian Wars, and how we went back to Egypt. And it's basically what the whole, Tanakh is saying. And that Hebrews must understand this, that the book of Jeremiah gonna be our last prophet. He gonna be our last prophet for the 99%. For the 99% of the Hebrews, they went into Africa during the book of Jeremiah. And how that 1% was captured and taken to Babylon. And that's a whole second history. But them baby pyramids right there, built in the Sahara, Lower Libya. And I'm going to go into that history too. But this is what's startling to me, Hebrews, is that if you look at the world map, a satellite map, and you will see how Egypt is almost in running distance from the promised land, and how it is crazy to think that the Hebrews went anywhere else but in Africa. I'm talking about, literally speaking, if you look at the distance from Egypt to the promised land, it's basically nowhere. It's basically nowhere. It's almost within jogging distance if we look at how we travel today, in cars and so forth. And, we know that the people walked it back then and had horses. I can see them getting into Egypt in a day and a half, what I'm saying, on the horse, maybe 2 days, 3 days on foot. And that, it wouldn't have take long if you just finna run straight there from the promised land. When we exited Egypt with Prophet Moses, we wandered around, what I'm saying, the Sinai desert and them parts, because, we was seeing it, and we, had a whole lot going on, a whole lot of issues. And the book of Exodus cover it, it go into details, and the book of Numbers too, how we was all messed up. And matter of fact, I'm going to go into some of the history showing how we wanted to return back to Egypt, to Africa, the whole time after the Exodus with Prophet Moses. And then especially after he telling us that we wouldn't return to Egypt no more, and that we shouldn't look that way no more. And then I could show how the tribe of Ephraim had a relationship with the Egyptians. So you know that if trouble would befall us, that's going to be the most ideological place to run to. But let's look at this map, man. It's startling. All right. And then this is a world Google map. Like I said, when they created this map, they wasn't thinking that, this is real close to be showing the world how close the promised land is to Egypt, and how the world might get the big idea that, hey, the Israelites might have ran into Egypt at one time, which we did. All right, look, man, you see how this getting, it's going to shrink a little more. All right, this going to be Egypt right here. This going to be Egypt, and you see all that greenery. So it's logical, that some people over here would want to run back to here. But let's look at it some more. Look. Man, this ain't nowhere. And look, if you right here, and all this was our territory, from the Nile to the Euphrates, and we know that they just recently built that Suez Canal, so that wouldn't have been, in the way with us, running back into Egypt. And then this is Egypt right here. Look at all that greenery right there. It should look like that because, all them river, veins and so forth, you know, the Nile and so forth, bringing all that water in. But look right here. Let's go down some more. Alright. Look here. Now this is the promised land. This is the promised land. This is the Hebrews. This is the Israelite inheritance. This is the land that the Creator gave us as an inheritance forever. And we coming back to that land. You best believe that, because if the Creator say we coming back, we coming back. And that's one of the reasons why the enemies try to create disbelief. You know, they don't want you to believe in the Creator, so therefore you shouldn't believe that the Hebrews are coming back. You know, but look, let's get a little closer. Alright, look at this. This is our ancient land. Now look, if disaster come, you know all the peoples will be heading back this way. This is going towards Egypt. You know what I'm saying? Look at all them cities. And look at all that land. But look, just hugging the coast. Look. And then this will be the Sinai right here. And look, this will be the Sinai. Look, there go that little body of water there that, you know, we would encounter going back into Africa. And look, that ain't nowhere. Look, Egypt right there. Now let's, and look at this here. Look, from right here to right here. From right there to right there. That is the same as from right here to right there. It's the same. Look, from right there to right there ain't nowhere. Look, this be where the Creator gave us the law at. Right up in here when we left Egypt. The Creator would have gave us the law, and then we would have went inside and you know, got the enemies and started to get the land. But look how far that is from Egypt. That ain't nowhere. That ain't nowhere. From right here, and then the people start running and, you know, getting on down, you can get into Egypt. And guess what? Egypt was our friend during the satire history of Egypt. This is, you know, during the Babylonian Wars. You know, it's like, you know, around about 671 BC, the Assyrian Empire invaded Egypt. The first people to come in kind of like, you know, take Egypt over, you know, and control it and stuff. All right, the Assyrian Empire began an invasion of Egypt in 671 BC. Okay, but before then, you know, the prophet Isaiah had said this. This is around about this is in 725 BC. This is 3 years before the Babylonian scribes was placed in our land also. So it's like the prophet Isaiah is killing the 10 lost tribe myth too. You know, but if you look at Isaiah 19, and let me see, is that going to be 19? 19, and then you get down to verse 23. In that day shall there be a highway out of Egypt to Assyria, and the Assyrians shall come into Egypt, and the Egyptians into Assyria, and the Egyptians shall serve with the Assyrians. In that day shall Israel be the third with Egypt and with Assyria, even a blessing in the midst of the land, whom the Elohim of hosts shall bless, saying, Blessed be Egypt, my people, and Assyria, the works of my hands, and Israel, my inheritance. So, you know, the Creator said that, you know, it will be a highway out of Egypt to Assyria, and from Assyria to Egypt. And basically, you know, what was happening with that is that the Hebrews and the Egyptians and the Israelites had a common enemy. We had a common enemy, and that was going to be the people that was related to the Canaanite tribes and so forth, you know. And it's like the Hittites and those folks, you know. I got videos explaining how, you know, that they got into it with Assyria and how they was trying to take Assyria down after they got educated and got a little bit of technology and how they turned on Assyria. The white folks, the non-pigmented peoples up here in the Caucasus and in Turkey. They got underground cities in Turkey that where all the non-pigmented peoples lived and so forth, and how they turned on Assyria and tried to take them out, and eventually took them out. But before Assyria was destroyed, they came and got us Hebrews. They came and got the Hebrews that wasn't on the covenant and that was slipping on Egyptian religion. We still the Creator's people, and He still loved us, but we was messing off with the people, the heathens, the people who we was basically to destroy their civilization. And then it's a thing how prophet Jeremiah, if you read the book of Lamentations, he'll tell you that how our friends turn into our enemies, and how our friends, the Egyptians and the Syrians was slick, really just trying to destroy us and kicking it with us and destroy us. And that's basically what happened. The Assyrians, came and got us to help us fight against them non-pigmented peoples. And then, us not being on the covenant law, them non-pigmented people's gonna come get us. And they got us. And they chased us up off the land into Africa. As I'm showing that the distance from the promised land in Egypt is nowhere. Let's look at another map. Alright, this one got the degrees and so forth, tell you the temperature, and then it tell you how, where all the nations and so forth at. So look, let's get a little closer. Alright. Now this gonna tell you that this is the land of Israel and this is Jerusalem. It's gonna be Egypt right here. Now we look at this map right here, we see that ain't nowhere from here, man, to there. That ain't nowhere from here to there. Alright. Looking at this map. Alright. Now look. That's where the Hebrews at in Damona. Shalom to the Hebrews in Damona. If you see this Israel been Israel for the Israelite brotherhood. We all gonna connect one day if it's the Creator's will. We all gonna connect. Alright, look, you see how that is right there. This the boundaries that them Jews set forth. But you see how that's right there. And look, that's Lake Shaxhat El Baralawi. But you see, that's that little water right here where I was showing on the other map. Alright, now look, you see the distance right here. That ain't nowhere. Look right here. That ain't nowhere. That ain't nowhere from running here to here. And the Hebrews would run that way. The Israelites would run that way if all our enemies is coming from this way. See Damascus and so forth. This where Syria was up here at the top. Over here in the corner. This is where Assyria is. Way up here. And then you got Turkey. You know what I'm saying? Up here where them folks living underground in them caves and so forth. That's going to be right there. Alright. See, Turkey going to be right here where all them underground folks at. And then, up here going to be the Caucasus Mountain where them folks up in the mountains and so forth. Them going to be the mountains right there. See them Caucasus Mountain up in there. That's where they going to be kicking it at. Them non-pigmented peoples. And then they going to circle on around. It's like they go all the way around. And then how they come into Babylon and kicked it. And that's where all our enemies was over here. All our enemies was in these parts. All our enemies was in these parts. Alright. All this was our enemies' part. All this was our enemies' part. So they would come this way. They would come from the east. So if they coming from the east, that we can't sneak around them. You could forget that. And where would you sneak around your enemies to during the Babylonian Wars? Where would you sneak around to them? Because if you tried to sneak around them, you finna go into their heartland. So it's no other way to turn but to go west. You see what I'm saying? And we already had an affinity with Egypt, so it's no other way but to go but west. Look, now let's get a little closer. Look at this right here. This ain't nowhere. From here, all our enemies is coming from here, especially down this way. These highways are like main roads that's been there for thousands of years. So you know they coming from this way. They coming from the east. That's gonna drive everybody west. Going back west. We're gonna get driven that way. And I could show that it wasn't no 10 lost tribes and how all those tribes was there after the Assyrian so-called captivity, and how all the tribes was there during King Hezekiah time. This is 7 years. No, this is 5 years after the so-called Assyrian captivity. Chapter 30 of Second Chronicles, chapter 30. Hezekiah got the tribes there. His great-grandson got the tribes there, King Josiah. And, all the tribes would be there during Jeremiah times. And then, we would get driven into Africa because, that 1% that was took into Babylon, we got their history. That's the book of Ezra, Nehemiah, Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi. Those 5 prophets covered that 1% that was taken to Babylon. And then they made it, back home, when the Babylonians were defeated. And note, during the Babylonian Wars, when they chased us into Africa, how that the Babylonians went in and took Egypt over for 50 years. So, where would those Hebrews go to that was in Egypt? You couldn't go back towards the promised land because it was took over and controlled by the Babylonians. So we would go this way. We would go into the Sahara. Look, this is Egypt still. You can go down here, follow the Nile on down, but we would start to go, this way, over these parts. And that's where you find those baby pyramids that was built by some people that had a connection to the Egyptians. That's like I show you in in one of the videos, how our first derogatory name by the Greeks would be Grammentians, and that the people in the area didn't call themselves that, but how they had Egyptian technology, they worshiped the Egyptian religion, and they built houses the same as we Hebrews had in the promised land. And I done showed this over and over, how our ancestors had houses, basically like the houses that we got built today, and how that that those houses was found in the Sahara, so forth. I got a video, covering this, but this is what I want to show, how it's startling, how Egypt is so close to the promised land. I'm talking about almost in running distance. Let's look at this. Let's get on this map. Again, let's get a little closer. Look at this here. Look, this is the promised land. This is the promised land. That's Jerusalem. It wouldn't be nothing. It wouldn't be nothing to take off this way, especially if the enemy is coming. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to know the enemy is coming because we even, stated in our history how we had watchmen, the watchmen. You know what I'm saying? And how, that was a common thing to have people telling you that some folks coming. Hey, y'all, it's a whole bunch of them coming. They're on horses and they look real crazy. So that's going to make everybody run and dip. We had cities and so forth, wall fenced cities. They would stay for a little while and try to hold it down because they going to be used to the devils coming in and trying to, we was living with them devils, the Canaanite tribes, you know what I'm saying, and so forth. But, it's at times that other nations try to start something with us and how we'll have fenced cities and we can fend them off. Okay, the majority of the people, that's like we had some prophets that kept saying, hey, y'all, all this sinning that y'all doing, from the bring the end about. And we kept saying, nah, man, ain't no end coming. We told prophet Ezekiel, all the prophets, the Creator sent to, especially the prophet Jeremiah. We said, ain't no end coming. We gonna be here a long time, and you don't need to be saying that. And guess what? The end came, and them Babylonians came with the Scythians. That's Ashkenazi. That's gonna be these folks right here. That's gonna be these folks. They came. They came on them horses with them bows and then with them body parts, man, on them horses and them skeletons and everything. And then they had all kind of arrowheads. You know, I got a video covering, you know, how Ashkenazi, you know, was called Scythian and how they got into the promised land. But all them arrowheads that they shot, all kind of different kind of arrowheads. And then how, you know, they finding them arrowheads right now today from them folks, you know, shooting the promised land up. You know what I'm saying? They done found them in arrowheads, Scythian arrowheads. You know, whenever you run across that name Scythian, you know, that's basically talking about Ashkenazi. And then how the arrowheads, you know, shoot Jerusalem up. Scythian trilobite arrowheads was found at Tel Megidim, Alta, Megiddo, Kassan, Quasham, Samaria, Tel Michael, Gezer, Tel Hanasheba, Jerusalem in the city of David. You know, it go on and on and on. And how, you know, I got a couple of pages on the social media site Facebook, how the archaeologists done did archaeological studies, and then how they done found, you know, the arrowhead still, you know, and man, that's a known fact that, you know, that the Scythians shot the promised land up, and how the arrowheads is, you know, still being found today. You know, it's like this right here. You know, archaeological discovery proves biblical plot that Jerusalem was invaded by Babylonians, and the people who made up the Babylonian army, the Chaldean army, is gonna be the Scythians. It's gonna be the Scythians and so forth. And then, you know, that'll be these folks right here. So we know if them folks is coming from the east, they coming from the east to get us. In the book Habakkuk tell us about them coming in the things that we will suffer under their rulership and how vicious they is. And he was even saying that the Creator was sending such a vicious people at us to get us up off the land. You see what I'm saying? And that's what the book of Habakkuk about. It's wrote about 625 BC or something like that. It's like during King Josiah's rule. You know, the northern kingdom was, everybody was messed up, even though King Josiah made an attempt to clean the kingdom up, which was a prophecy, and he did. But, you know, it would only be clean for 31 years. The Egyptians would come out and kill King Josiah and then put us on the Egyptian religion, and then we would go, you know what I'm saying, into Africa to stay. You know, it's a lot going on. It's a lot going on, Hebrews. It's a lot going on. But, you know, we can cover it, and we got clear history today. You know, good thing with the Israelite Brotherhood, you know, and I'm constantly doing research. So you Hebrews, subscribe on YouTube. Alright, but you see right there. Alright, so the enemies will come from this way. The enemies will come from this way, and they will chase us this way. Now let's get into some scriptures about this. Let's see what the Bible got to say. If the Hebrews had the thought or the mentality to return to Egypt. And I, like I say, you know, doing all our problems, that, you know, Egypt was the first place that we thought of, and it's recorded in Tanakh history. Alright. This is Exodus 16. This coming out of Egypt. You know, how the people, you know, murmured with Prophet Moses and so forth. And how, you know, because we had left, you know, Egypt, you know, with all the food and the luxury and everything was, and how that, you know, the little hardship that we was going through in going to the promised land was so unbearable to us, and how we just gave Prophet Moses a hard time. Look, and they took the journey from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came into the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day in the second month after they departed out of the land of Egypt. So, you know, we're gonna be around about these parts. We're gonna be in here somewhere. We're going to be in here somewhere, but look how this nowhere. This is the Sinai right here. This is the Sinai. It even tell you. Look, see that Sinai. So, we was right up in there somewhere. But look how that is to the promised land. That ain't nowhere. That ain't nowhere. Look, so we in the Sinai. We in the Sinai with what the Tanakh say. Alright. And the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said unto them, would to Yah we had died by the hand of the Elohim in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots, when we had eat bread, when we did eat bread to the full, for ye have brought us forth into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. See what I'm saying? Now look how far that is. That ain't nowhere. So they're going to be wanting to go back to Egypt. They're going to be wanting to go back to Egypt. With all that food and so forth and everything in. We didn't care about old Pharaoh kicking us and dogging us out. In the bondage that we was in is basically the bondage that we are in now. How we can't control nothing, how we can't do nothing, and how they systematically destroy us on all levels in all kind of way, and how we had no control of the Egyptian political system, and how that's like Moses was born in the political system in Egypt, but look at he ain't hardly had no power like the people, our so-called people that's in the political system that don't have no power to stop the enemy from destroying us, even though they in the political system. You got Democrats, so-called black Democrats, and so-called black Republicans, but they can't stop the systematic destruction that we going through. It's the same level Moses was on, and we was in the same bondage that the Israelites were in the past is that we in now. You see, it's the same bondage. Well, we own the Egyptian gods through Christianity. We all confused. We don't know what's going on. The other ethnic groups lead us, got control of us, and how we all messed up and how they systematically destroy us through the poverty, schisms that they got set up, and how they killing the babies through abortion, and we just all messed up. Well, we in the same bondage now that we was in Egypt. You see what I'm saying? And the Creator said he would send us back to Egypt in ships. That's like a S on the end of that, ships, in Deuteronomy 28:68. Alright, but you see, look here, that's nowhere. That's no distance. So, we know that how we always wanted to go back to Egypt, because we just, said so then. So let's go to Numbers. That's going to be Numbers 14. Numbers 14. Alright. And all the congregation lifted up their voice and cried, and the people wept that night. And the children of Israel murmured against Moses and against Aaron. The whole congregation said unto them, would Yah that we had died in the land of Egypt, or would Yah we had died in the wilderness? And wherefore hath the Elohim brought us into this land filled by the sword, that our wives and our children should be a prey? Were it not better for us to return to Egypt? You know what I'm saying? And then they said one to another, let us make a captain and let us return into Egypt. You see what I'm saying? So we was all messed up, and we always wanted to go back to Egypt. We always wanted to go back to Egypt. Man, let's look at number 16. Number 16, 3. 16, 13. Alright. That's when we was talking to Prophet Moses, giving him trouble again. And we said, is it a small thing that thou hast brought us out of the land that floweth with milk and honey to kill us in the wilderness, except thou makest thyself altogether a prince over us? Moreover, thou hast not brought us into a land that floweth with milk and honey. So we wanted to return back to Egypt then. We wanted to return back to Egypt so many times. And we wanted to return back to Egypt so many times. Alright, if you go to Numbers 25. Alright, he said this. And wherefore have ye made us to come up out of Egypt to bring us into this evil place? It is no place of seed or fig or vines or pomegranates, neither is there any water to drink. You know, we always wanted to return back to Egypt. And then, all right, we get in the promised land, you know, with the prophet Joshua. We get all messed up. We get all beat up with the Canaanite tribes. We didn't destroy them. They put us in all kind of bondages. We had judges and reliefs here and there. About 275 years of bondages. And from Judges all the way to the book of Samuel. Samuel come on around about 1100 BC. We try to get right. You know, we starting to get right a little bit, trying to do the covenant. Doing King Saul, we trying to do the covenant. Doing King David, you know, he wasn't playing. We had to do the covenant. You know what I'm saying? And he pushed the hard Hebrew line. You know, King David pushed a hard Hebrew line, and the Hebrews had to do the covenant, and he was dealing with our enemies. You know, that's why the Creator loved King David, because, you know, King David took care of the business. Okay, King David would pass away, and then you would get Solomon. Okay, Solomon took us down through there. How about, you know, that the Creator told us through Prophet Moses that we shouldn't be looking that way back to Egypt no more. You know what I'm saying? Let's go to Exodus. That'll be Exodus 14, 13. Yeah. Look at this here. This is what Prophet Moses said. And Moses said unto the people, fear ye not, stand still, and see the salvation of the Elohim. This is when we was exiting Egypt, which he will show to you today. For the Egyptians whom ye have seen today, ye shall see them again no more forever. You see, so when we left and went into the promised land with that new culture that the Creator gave us, we were supposed to hold it down, and that was basically gonna be the end of the Egyptian civilization. How about Egypt couldn't come across that promised land if we was doing the covenant in Egypt? I always tried to hug the coast, going from Egypt all the way to, you know, Mesopotamia and so forth. But if we did that covenant, that it was slick finna kill Egypt, and how Pharaoh was slick and knew that the Creator was dealing us all the way from Prophet Abraham when he was there, when Pharaoh took Sarah, and then the Creator tormenting him, and then how he knew that the Creator was with us, and then he gave Sarah our mama up, and then, you know, Pharaoh would knew that we was Hebrews and we was something, you know, to be reckoned with. And then Joseph would end up in the Egyptian hands, and how, you know, the Egyptians would know that we was Hebrews, and then how Joseph would answer the Pharaoh's dream, and then how Pharaoh would give him one of, you know, the priest's daughter, the head priest over the religious system in Egypt. He gave him his daughter Asenath, and they would have two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, and how the tribe of Ephraim had a constant relationship with the Egyptians, which would drive us, you know, back that way during the Babylonian wars, and how we would go into Africa and be enslaved, and how the people from the transatlantic slave trade are the Hebrew Israelites. You know, look, you see what Prophet Moses said. And Moses said unto the people, fear ye not, stand still and see the salvation of the Elohim, which he will show to you today. For the Egyptians whom ye have seen today, ye shall see them again no more forever. And then when you go to Deuteronomy, that's going to be Deuteronomy 17:16. Deuteronomy 17:16. Talking about a king. We wanted a king and be like all the other nations. And then Prophet Moses said this, but he shall not multiply horses to himself, nor cause the people to return to Egypt to the end that he should multiply horses, for as much the Elohim had said unto you, ye shall henceforth return no more that way. Neither shall ye multiply wives to yourselves. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so we violated what Prophet Moses said, and we would eventually go back to Egypt. But it was like Solomon opened the door, because King David, King Saul, we didn't have no relations with the Egyptians. King David wasn't fooling with them Egyptians. King Saul wasn't fooling with them Egyptians. King David wasn't fooling with them Egyptians. Then after King David passed away, then his son Solomon come on. And when Solomon come on, Solomon would take us down through there. And that's one of the first things that Solomon did, was go hook up with them Egyptians. You see what I'm saying? And when he hooked up with them Egyptians, he opened the door for us, going down the drain, for us losing our heritage. Look here. And Solomon made affinity with Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and took Pharaoh's daughter and brought her into the city of David, until he had made an end of building his own house and the house of the Elohim at the wall of Jerusalem round about. Solomon had the Egyptian wife, and he would open the door for the Egyptians can come across the promised land, and it would be downhill from then on out. It will be downhill from then on out, for the simple fact is that, Jeroboam was from the tribe of Ephraim. He gonna be descended from the a mixture of the Egyptians. He gonna have some ancestry with the Egyptians. And then when Solomon chased him to Egypt, he would come out with the Egyptian religion and put it on the northern kingdom. And it stayed on the northern kingdom all the way to King Josiah cleaned it up for 30 years. And then after the Egyptians killed him, we would go back to Egyptian religion and then be chased off the land into Africa. And as you see, that's no distance. That's no distance. You see, from right there, man, to right there, that's nowhere. That's nowhere. That's nowhere. And then we knew that once we get going, that them devils wasn't going to be able to catch us. And the closer we got to Africa, the safer we would be. So we thought, and that's the most ideological place to run to. The refugees and people that's being, chased, refugees, they gonna go to the nearest safest place. That's just a thing that's just, with society and people that is being chased out of land. They gonna go to the nearest serious place. That's just a logical thing. They gonna go to the nearest safest place, and then that's gonna be right here. From right here to right there is nowhere. All right, look at King Solomon. King Solomon messed us up. And his house which he built had a cubit of with the court within the porch, which was of the like work. Solomon made also an house for Pharaoh's daughter, whom he had taken to wife, like unto his porch. So he was, hooked up with them Egyptians. And then he would chase, Jeroboam into Egypt. And then that would, bring us down the northern kingdom. Okay. Now let's look at this here. Alright. So we see how we always wanted to go back to Egypt. Now let's look at during the Babylonian Wars. It's like I showed how we only have like 800 years of history from Exodus to us abandoning our heritage. During the Babylonian Wars is like 800 years. That ain't no time. And then let me show this while I'm thinking about it with Prophet Ezekiel, how he said that the Egyptians were the people that messed us up and broke us in. Alright. The word of the Elohim came again unto me, saying, Son of man, there were two women, the daughters of one mother, and they committed whoredoms in Egypt. They committed whoredoms in their youth. There were their breasts pressed, and there They bruised the tents of their virginity. In the name of the one were Ahala and the elder, and Abala her sister, and they were man, and they were bore sons and daughters. This were their names: Samaria is Abala, and Jerusalem is Abala. So that's the northern kingdom and southern kingdom. He's telling you how the Egyptians had, messed us up from the beginning. It was the Egyptians that had messed us up. And then if we go to the book of Hosea, let's see this here, and it'll show you how we had a relationship, how the tribe of Ephraim had a relationship with the Egyptians. All right. Ephraim feedeth on wind. This is Hosea 12. This is wrote in 753 BC. Behold, Ephraim feedeth on wind, and followeth after the east wind. His daily increase lies in desolation, and they do make a covenant with the Assyrians, and oil is carried into Egypt. So we know that the tribe of Ephraim had relations with the Egyptians and with the Assyrians, as what was stated, and then let's go see how the tribe of Ephraim had in relationship with the Egyptians. If you turn to Genesis, that's going to be Genesis 41, I think. Let's see. Genesis 40. Yeah, Genesis 41:45. And Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zaphaneah-Paneah, and gave him to wife Asenath, the daughter of Potipharah, priest of On. And Joseph went all over the land of Egypt. And unto Joseph were born 2 sons before the years of famine came, which Asenath, the daughter of Potipharah, priest of On, bore unto him. And Joseph called the name of the first Manasseh, for Yah had he that had made me forget all my toil and all my father's house. And the name of the second called he Ephraim, for Yah had caused me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction. You see, he wanted to be with his relatives and his folks, and they did lock him down, and put him in jail and stuff for nothing he ain't do. Same as here, how this system do is got everybody locked up for something they ain't do. All right, but you see how Joseph had the 2 sons, you see, and how Manasseh and Ephraim were, mixed with the Egyptians. And then when you go to Exodus, that'd be Exodus 12. Turn right to it. And a mixed multitude went up also with them, flocks and herds, even very much cattle. I explained how the people from Upper Egypt would take over Lower Egypt. Well, it was when the people from Upper Egypt took over Lower Egypt that didn't know Joseph and caused us all the problems. The Nubian, Ethiopian, Chad-like stock. Them folks, they, tried to pull a move on us. And then, we would, get released by the Creator. And then the people from Upper Egypt would leave with us. The Mishwish tribes, they would go into the promised land with us, and they would cause us all kind of trouble. And the first sign of the trouble dealing with them Egyptians that left with us, which, gonna show you also that if some Egyptians left with us and we had a relationship with Egypt, it wouldn't be nothing to run, back to Africa. You see what I'm saying? So, we know that the Egyptians left with us during Moses' time, and then how after Prophet Moses went up to get the new covenant, the new civilization the Creator was giving us, and how, we would, resort to that golden calf stuff because we didn't know if Moses was gone or what had become of him. Which go to show you that the first time we get lost or thought, we didn't know the way, how we would revert back to Egyptian religion. So that during the time of trouble, if we was being driven off the land, that's where we would go, into Africa. All right, look, you see this here. And when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down out of the mount, the people gathered themselves together unto Aaron and said unto him, Up, make us gods which shall go before us. And then, they get earrings. That's going to be that mixed multitude with us. You know what I'm saying? And then, it would surface again after Solomon would chase, Jeroboam into Africa to his people, and then that would get us getting ready to go into slavery. All right, you see this here. All right, and Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, an Ephrathite, that's an Ephraimite of Zerudah, Solomon's servant, whose mother name was Zur, a widow, even he lifted up his hand against the king. All right. And Solomon sought therefore to kill Jeroboam. This is 1 Kings 11:40. Solomon sought therefore to kill Jeroboam, and Jeroboam arose and fled into Egypt unto Shawshang. Now that's going to be his relative. Now the Mishwish tribes is back on. You see what I'm saying? All right. The king of Egypt, and was in Egypt unto the death of Solomon. And then when he come out, he will put them 2 golden calves on us. You see, whereupon the king took counsel and made 2 calves of gold, and said unto them, It is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. Behold thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. And then that's when that prophecy, this is in 931 BC, and then that's when that prophecy was made about the King Josiah, and they even mentioned him by name, how he would clean the Egyptian religion up. And like I say, this was our only chance when King Josiah was born, and then he cleaned the Egyptian religion up for us not to get enslaved and to stay on the land and not have the history and the culture that we have today in this Egyptian system that we in captivity in. And how that if we would have followed King Josiah and stayed on the law that he had reestablished, then and none of this be going down, and our enemies wouldn't have our heritage. Look, and behold, there come a man of Yah out of Judah by the word of the Elohim unto Bethel, and Jeroboam stood by the altar to burn incense, and he cried against the altar in the word of the Elohim, and said, O altar, altar, this saith the Elohim, behold, a child shall be born unto the house of David, Josiah by name, and upon thee shall he burn the priests of the high places that burn incense upon thee, and men's bones shall be burnt upon thee. And King Josiah would do that. 300 years later, he would be born. And then he would do that. You know what I'm saying? He would, get rid of the Jeroboam religion, the Egyptian religion. That'd be 2nd Chronicles 34. But before then, to show you that all the tribes was there, and that it wasn't no Assyrian captivity like our enemies try to say, that 10 tribes was taken to Assyria, and then how those 10 tribes went down a water hole some kind of way and end up in Europe and all these places up here, which is ridiculous, because as I'm showing how we Hebrews went into Africa and didn't go to Europe in no kind of way, doing none of our captivities or none of our troubles with our enemies, would we go north. We always knew north was where the enemies was and so forth. You see what I'm saying? So we know that during the Assyrian captivity that the Creator said that we was going to be friends with the Assyrians. Well, really what went down is that the Assyrians was having trouble with them folks up there in the Caucasus Mountain in Turkey, and they needed us to help them, and how we wasn't on the covenant when we was trying to help them, which would spell disaster for us. That's all it is. That's all it is. All right. And now we're going to show, all right, during the Assyrian captivity. All right. During the Syrian captivity, they took 3 tribes to fight us. The Syrians did, to help them against them folks from the Caucasus Mountain that didn't have no pigmentation and so forth. And how they would all be defeated and then be driven into Africa. Them folks, them non-pigmented folks, whooped them Assyrians, and then they came and got us. And in the Egyptians. And it's logical that if we made up the Assyrian army and we attacking them folks, and I got history about Tuda and King Midas and all them old devils in the little slick role that they played in history that the enemy has been trying to conceal and so forth. But you see how up here is where the enemies will be, and Assyria will be fighting against them the whole time. And them folks took Assyria down, and because we played a part in the Assyrian army, they will come down there and get us. And then they will know that the Egyptians were set up by the Assyrians that will bring them to Egypt also. So, history as it's told today is a lie. And like I say, that them folks got words to try to protect their lie, and they'll try to call you a pseudo historian or a pseudo archaeologist when you expose truth on them. All right, let's go to First Chronicles. First Chronicles. That's gonna be First Chronicles 5. I basically had it in my hand. All right. Look, you see, this is who the Assyrians need to help them fight men against them, those enemies. The sons of Reuben, the Gadites, the half-tribe of Manasseh, valiant men, able to bear buckler and sword, and to shoot with bow, and skillful in war, were 440,703 score that went out to the war. And the Yah of Israel stirred up the spirit of Paul, king of Assyria, and the spirit of Talcapanazer, king of Assyria, and he carried them away, even the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh, and brought them unto Hala and Harbor and Hor, and to the river Gonzon unto this day. That's going to be up there where them devils at. We was fighting and trying to help them, and they also worked us too. They will make us do some work. But those are the tribes that the Assyrians took to help them fight. And then if you look at 2 Chronicles 30, this is under King Hezekiah. You're going to see that all the rest of the tribes still there, the fighters. They might have, the tribe of Ephraim and Manasseh might have had some of their members in the other tribes, and then them folks took them out them tribes. But the tribes of Israel were not taken to Assyria as a whole. And how the Assyrians were our friends and not our enemies, how they try to make us think, yeah, the Assyrians were some robbers, and they came in and robbed us and did all kind of stuff, but it wasn't what the enemies has portrayed, like the Assyrians were mortal enemies to the Israelites. It's like we had an off and on relationship. It's like the Assyrians would turn on Ephraim sometime, you know what I'm saying? And then they'll have to get down into Egypt and hide from them folks. Let me see if I could pull that up. Let me show that. Ezekiel 27. Let's see, 20 verse 7. Cast ye away every man. No, this is going to be Isaiah 57, 7, I think. Let's see. And I'll find it in a minute. Alright. And let's show was Hebrews wanted to go back to Egypt, and how, like I showed here, Egypt is not a long way. Look, from right there, man, to right there. We can look at another satellite. Look, from right here, from right there, man, to right there, it's nowhere. It's nowhere. So our enemy's been pulling a fast one on us. Alright, so we know that King Hezekiah gonna have all the tribes there. And let me finish that. And that how all the tribes will be there during King Josiah time, which means that all the tribes will be there during the Babylonian Wars, and how we would all be driven into Africa, as I showed you that Egypt is no distance from the Promised Land. Alright, and Hezekiah sent to all Israel and Judah and wrote letters unto Ephraim and Manasseh that they should come to the house of the Elohim at Jerusalem to keep the Passover unto the Elohim Yah of Israel. For the king had taken counsel and his princes and all the congregation in Jerusalem to keep the Passover in the 2nd month, for they could not keep it at that time, because the priests had not sanctified themselves sufficiently enough, and neither had the people gathered themselves together to Jerusalem. And the thing pleased the king and all the congregation. So they established a decree to make proclamation throughout all Israel, from Beersheba even to Dan, that they should come to keep the Passover unto the Elohim Yah at Jerusalem, for they had not done it of a long time in such sort that it was written. So the post went with the letters from the king and his princes throughout all Israel and Judah, and according to the commandment of the king, saying, Ye children of Israel, turn again unto the Elohim Yah of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, and he will return to the remainder of you that are escaped out of the hands of the kings of Assyria. So we didn't escape out of the hands of the king of Assyria, like King Hezekiah said. You see, and then if you look at a map, let's look at the map. We're going to see how far Beersheba is, and all the way to Dan. I'm going to show this on all the other videos. Alright, look, you see Beersheba right there. You see Beersheba. That's Simon, Judah. Alright, all the way to Dan. All the way to Dan up there. The shit, she sent the letter. So, it wouldn't make no sense if all the tribes gone during the Assyrian times, that it wouldn't make no sense to send no letter to no empty place where ain't nobody at. That don't make no sense. And this is in 715 BC when King Hezekiah said this. Alright, and then you see that he said that we escaped out of the hands of the king of Assyria. Okay, now let's read down. As you read down, you will see. So the post passed from city to city throughout the country of Ephraim, Manasseh, even to Zebulun, but they laughed them to scorn and mocked them. Nevertheless, the diverse of Asher and Manasseh and Zebulun humbled themselves and came unto Jerusalem. You see, so them tribes still there. Alright. And then as you read, and then you get down to 18, and the multitude of the people, even of Ephraim, Manasseh, Ishkar, Zebulun, had not cleansed themselves, yet they did eat the Passover, otherwise that it was written. But Hezekiah prayed for them, saying, The good Elohim pardon everyone. So as you see, them tribes still there. Everybody's still there. And this would make the Creator mad, because after King Hezekiah did all that, then his son Manasseh turned around and be wicked, real wicked, to where the Assyrians, when they finally took Babylon over, I guess with our help, that they took him to Babylon, and then how he came back home. You see what I'm saying? Because, the Assyrian kings held control of Babylon too. And that's why they had took us to try to help us, make us help them, get their land back and stuff that was being taken over by them Scythians, them non-pigmented folks that come up out the Caucasus Mountain that had took Babylon over too. And how Assyria was trying to get all that back and needed our help and so forth. And how that's real history and not pseudo history, like our enemies will want folks to think that anybody that challenged them with their lies is going to fall into the pseudo history category. No, not so with this. Not so with this. This is truth right here that you can see plainly. Alright, if you go to 2 Chronicles 34, this is with King Josiah. Now the Creator done destroyed the Assyrian Empire. This is going to give King Josiah a chance, because King Josiah wouldn't be able to clean the kingdom up, the northern kingdom up, if they own Egyptian religion, from Jeroboam, if the Assyrians were still around and had power. They're going to try to prevent that. You see what I'm saying? Because the Assyrians did trade with the Egyptians. They had the tribe of Ephraim take oil down into Egypt, as I showed. So, they wouldn't want that. So the Creator going to have to get rid of the Assyrian Empire, which he did around about the time that King Josiah started to clean us up. Then the Assyrians were being taken down through there. Them Scythians was at them. them non-pigmented folks who they let kick it in their kingdom was taking them down through there. All right, this is King Josiah. This is around about 640 BC. He, was 8 years old when he came on, but then he started to clean up. Man, about the time he turned 18 or something like that, and then he cleaned up the whole Israel. All right, and then all the tribes not mentioned during King Hezekiah time gonna be mentioned during this time. And Josiah was 8 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned in Jerusalem 130 years. And he did that which was right in the sight of the Elohim, and walked in the ways of David his father, and declined neither to the right hand nor to the left. For in the 8th year of his reign, while he was yet young, he began to seek after Yah of David his father. And in the 12th year he began to purge Judah and Jerusalem from the high places and the groves and the carved images and the molten images. And they break down the altars of Balaam in his presence, in the images that were on high above them. He cut down in the groves and the carved images and the molten images. He break in pieces. He was fulfilling that prophecy that was told Jeroboam 300 years before he was born, and made dust of them, and strode it upon the graves of them that had sacrificed unto them. And he burnt the bones of the priests upon their altar, and cleansed Judah and Jerusalem. So did he in the cities of Manasseh, Ephraim, and Simon, even unto Naphtali with their mattocks round about. So he cleaned up the whole, Joseph children had control of the northern kingdom, Manasseh and Ephraim, and how Simon was like, towards where Beersheba was, and how he cleaned up the whole northern kingdom and southern kingdom. And when he had broken down the altars and the groves, and had beaten the graven images into powder, and cut down all the idols throughout all the land of Israel, he returned to Jerusalem. You see what I'm saying? And then as you read, he's going to tell you that the tribes of Israel still there, all right. They would find the book, and, prophet Helikai, the priest, Jeremiah's father, Jeremiah the prophet father, find the book and give him the book, and then, he'll read it, and he'll go ask about us, and, what this prophet is in Jerusalem, she'll say is, oh, it's curtains. The Egyptians would come out and kill him, and we would go back to Egyptian religion, and then that would start the Babylonians, the Babylonian war. And then this is when we went into Africa. And as I'm showing, that is no distance. Look, short distance. And then, King Josiah, Jeremiah was around during King Josiah time. And if you read the book of Jeremiah, it's our last act on the land. This is around about 588 BC. We gonna eventually say that we was through with the covenant, and how we was going back into Egypt to live, as we was saying way from the beginning of our history, when we exited Egypt, how we always wanted to return. And as you see, that's nowhere. The Creator gave us the law here. In between Egypt and the Promised Land, we got the law, and we went back this way. We always straddled the fence. All right, look, if you see this right here, in the word of Jeremiah the son of Helikai, the priests that were in Anath in the land of Benjamin, to whom the word of the Elohim came in the days of Josiah the son of Amon, king of Judah, in the 13th year of his reign. So Jeremiah was there. Prophet Jeremiah was there when he cleaned up the kingdom, northern and southern kingdom. All right. As you read the book of Jeremiah, we so wicked, we so evil, we basically, our sin is on the same as Sodom and Gomorrah. Run ye to and fro through the streets of Jerusalem, and see now, and seek in the broad places thereof, if ye can find a man, if there be any that executeth judgment, that seeketh the truth, and I will pardon it. The same with Sodom and Gomorrah, when our father Abraham was following the Creator to Sodom and Gomorrah, and then he asked him that if he found 20 people in would he spare Sodom and Gomorrah? And the Creator said, if you find 15 in there, I'ma spare them. And then what's the name? Not what's the name, but Our father Abraham asked the Creator again if he found 10 there, would he spare him? And the Creator said that if he found 5 people in Sodom and Gomorrah, he'll spare the whole place. And we know what happened. He couldn't find nobody. Well, our sin was on the same level. We was robbing, we was killing. We been our worst enemies. You know, the Creator set some enemies out for us to destroy. We didn't destroy them. We destroyed ourselves, and how we would turn on ourselves, and how we would rob each other. We was preying on each other, and we was doing the Egyptian religion. We was real wicked. The same wickedness that we are now in this captivity, was on comparison to the wickedness that we was on in the promised land when we was driven out into Africa. As you can see, this is a short distance. All right. How about we told the prophet Jeremiah, after we seen that it was basically over with, how that we was going back into Africa to live and to stay, and how we was going to worship their religion. And that was the end of that. And then, like I said, it was some people placed in our land in 722 BC, plus them Canaanite folks were still there. You see, it was just the Israelites driven out of the promised land, and that all our enemies were still there, as I show in other videos. All right, this is what we said. After it got real bad, we didn't, start robbing and each other and killing each other. That the Creator said, "Hey, y'all, it's over with. It's over with." We even went to the temple. To try to make amends and say, "Hey, we'll stop robbing each other and stop killing each other." You know what I'm saying? And we made a promise to stop robbing and killing each other. Well, as soon as we left the temple, we went back to robbing and killing each other. And then, the Babylonians will start to come. And then, that would, drive us off the land into Africa, and how we never returned. And how the people of the transatlantic slave trade are their descendants. All right. And it come to pass that when Jeremiah had made an end of speaking unto all the people all the words of the Elohim their Yah, for which the Elohim their Yah had sent him to them, even all these words. We was going into Africa. Prophet Jeremiah caught up with us. We told Prophet Jeremiah to go ask the Creator what we should do. And then the prophet Jeremiah leave for 10 days. Then he come back and they say, "Hey, the Creator said y'all need to go back to the promised land and stay, and how he gonna make it all right." And then we said, "Hey man, the Creator didn't say that. He didn't say not to go into Egypt." And then we took off into Africa, and that's was the end of us. And that the history wasn't wrote about that. They didn't write no history about us disappearing into Africa and what became of us, because our enemies couldn't follow us into Africa during them times. They would engage with us during the Greek times, when the Greeks took Egypt over, and then they would venture out into North Africa and try to go into the Sahara, where we was kicking it at. And then that's where that name, what they call us Grammentians, come from, saying that we the Grammentians. That's where that name come from, the Grammentians, and how we had a civilization in the Sahara, baby pyramids, and how we were still on Egyptian religion. See, this the thing about Israelite history. You shouldn't see no Israelites went into Africa to do the covenant, and so therefore you wouldn't have nobody recording covenant history. So therefore our history become blotted out right there. All right. Now, as I said, that prophet Jeremiah came to us and he caught us going into Egypt. He caught up with us and said, the Creator said, "Go back to the promised land." And then we said this. And it come to pass that when Jeremiah had made an end of speaking to all the people the words of the Elohim their Yah, for which the Elohim their Yah had sent him to them, even all these words, then spake Azariah the son of Hosea, and Johanan the son of Ker, and all the proud men, saying unto Jeremiah, "Thou speakest falsely. The Elohim our Yah had not sent thee to say, Go not into Egypt to sojourn there. For Baruch the son of Ner setteth thee on edge against us, for to deliver us into the hands of the Chaldeans, that they might put us to death." That's going to be them folks right there. See, we said, nah, man. The Creator didn't say don't go into Egypt, and how we wasn't nowhere from Egypt. You see how the promised land is right there? It's right there. That's the promised land, right there. And look, Egypt is right there. That's in running distance. You can almost visualize jogging. If somebody was to drop you off right there and say that you had to get over there, it wouldn't be no problem. With a bottle of water and a couple of sandwiches, man, you'll be in Egypt the next day. You know what I'm saying? Before supper time. And that's what happened to us. And then, as you see, we was driven off the land. Look, and it says this. This said the Elohim of hosts, the Yah of Israel, ye have seen all the evil that I have brought upon Jerusalem and upon all the cities of Judah. And behold, this day they are a desolation, and no man dwelleth therein. Meaning that it was empty. And I got plenty of verses showing that the Creator told us plenty times throughout the book of Jeremiah that it's going to be empty. The land going to be empty. It's going to be empty. It's going to be desolate. It's going to be empty plenty times. And then how it just finally came to pass. All right. If you go to Jeremiah 44, verse 15, 16, 17, it's like we said, forget the covenant forever. And then that's why the Creator say He's going to give us a new covenant, because the old one we throwed away. Look, then all the men which knew that their wives had burned incense unto other gods, and all the women that stood by, a great multitude, even all the people that dwell in the land of Egypt and Pathros, answered Jeremiah, saying, as for the word that thou hast spoken unto us in the name of the Elohim, we would not hearken unto thee, but we would certainly do so whatever thing go forth out of our own mouth, to burn incense and drink offerings. Let me see. And to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, as we have done, we and our fathers, our kings, our princes, in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem. For then had we plenty of food, and were well, and saw no evil. In the beginning, when I show you how we said that we needed some food and some water and everything, and why you got us out here, Prophet Moses, we going back to Egypt. You see what I'm saying? That's that same mentality that we had in our end. But since we left off to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, we have wanted all things, and have been consumed by the sword and by famine. So we said the reason that the enemies was coming into the promised land to get us and chase us off is because we wasn't in Egypt doing a religion. That's messed up. We had a warped sense of reality back then. We was crazy. We was confused. We was on them Egyptian religion. We was messed up from the Canaanite religions. We was all messed up. Just like how we messed up now mentally. We was messed up mentally back then. But look here. This is nowhere. Let's get a little close. This is nowhere. Look. Look from right there. From right there. You see Jerusalem. It's 81 degrees in Jerusalem right now. Look, our ideal temperature. Look, and then look at that little lake of water right there. That little lake of water. And then you're up in Egypt. Remember the Suez Canal wasn't there. Wasn't nothing stopping us from getting on in here. And then when them Babylonians came, we would dip on into the Sahara. See, this is where we went to, down in these parts. Look, and you see where it's Chad, I think. Let me go to the other map. No, it's this map. Alright, where Chad and all them nations that we will be down these parts, and we will build them baby pyramids in the Sahara, and then the water would dry up on us. You know, from us living in that area, the water would dry up on us. The underground water would dry up on us, and then that would disperse us. And then we would, disperse, and we would have conflict with the other Africans over their resources. See the Chad group, the Congo group, the Angolan group. Those were our enemies. The Chad group, the Congo group, and the Angolan groups. Those are the people that we had war against, because we was coming down. They try to say that we Bantus, but we was having war with the Bantus. They try to call us Bantus, but we was having war with the Bantus. It was the Bantus that sold us to them other folks, you know what I'm saying, in West Africa, you know. And it's like I show the Hebrews, ain't no barbers. There's a whole lot of Africans that didn't go into captivity, like the barbers. The Arabs been in Africa for thousands of years. The Ethiopians, none of them folks was took into slavery. You ain't no Congo groups, nobody from Angola. None of them folks took in no pygmies, no Egyptians, no Berbers, no Tutsis, them tall 7-foot Africans. None of them came to captivity. None of them come to captivity. You ain't see no ship full of pygmies, and like I say, they would have been ideal for picking cotton. The pygmies, they small and wouldn't took nothing to feed them, and you could have packed the whole ship down with them. They didn't take none of them folks to slavery. You know, they only took a certain people from slavery, and it's gonna be the people that come from the Sahara around about them parts. We was pushed over here. Like I show you, the promised land ain't nowhere from Egypt. Look. Man, that ain't nowhere. Look, from right here to right here. So we ran into Africa during the Babylonian Wars. All the tribes, besides that 1 little percent that they captured. And this tell you that all the tribes went right here. If you go to 2 Kings, verse 25, chapter 25, verse 26. And all the people, both small and great, and the captains of the armies arose and came to Egypt, for they were afraid of the Chaldeans. That's going to be them folks on them horsebacks. You know what I'm saying? Them Scythians, them monsters, them devils. And they were nothing nice, man. They could shoot them arrows at you, man. They could shoot a bird's eye out riding on a horse. There wasn't no getting away from them. And the only way was to get on down into Africa, as we did. You see what I'm saying? As we did. Shalom, Hebrews. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. And our enemies can't keep popping this game on us, talking about we ain't the Hebrews. It's easy proof. Everybody should Google a map and look out and look at how close the promised land is to Egypt. It's nowhere. And then the Hebrews kept saying, we kept saying that we going back into Egypt. Look at that. That's nowhere from here to here, with a little drink of water in between. No, they can cut that mess out. Shalom, this is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood.